Good evening. Well, actually, good night. I am recording this quite late, so I had to apologize if I end up falling asleep. How big is the world? Vast. Very, 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 very vast. It is probably vaster than you can imagine. Very vast, very, very vast. And you're not going to see all of it before you die. You're not going to see really, you're probably not even going to see a quarter of it before you die, because it's so vast and we don't know anything about the oceans at all. And there's probably going to be some scary creatures living down there. I should say that you probably should be fairly scared. You should be very, very, very scared of what lives in the very, very, very vast world. Where does water come from? The water that exists now on Earth has always existed, and the water that is inside of you, inside of your probably sexy body, has always existed, and it has at one point probably been in a dinosaur. And I think that's a very thought-provoking thought, that the fact that you have something in you that was once inside of a dinosaur. I think that if water were to be sentient, and by God, I mean, I think water should be sentient, and if water ends up being sentient, then I'm sure water much prefer being inside of dinosaurs than being inside of humans, because we don't really appreciate the fact that we have water inside of us. We tend to ignore and forget the fact that we have water splashing around. But I think that dinosaurs probably appreciate their own water, and I think most stupid animals do the same. It's just the fact that we are so intelligent that means that we tend to forget all this water inside of us. The water that after we die will still, be around. What is time? I mean, honestly, no one really knows what time is, because it just seems to be. The thing is, we have a certain idea of what time is, because our society works one way with time. We'll say, do you know the time? Do you know what time it is? What time am I supposed to be there? Is very late at night, it's very early in the morning. We have certain idea of how time works, but the thing is, the more physicists and other brainy people look at time, the more it seems to be different from the way we think of it. It doesn't seem to be as linear as we think of it. It seems to move in certain directions and ways that is just confusing. And time is one of those things that it's very difficult to actually get your head around, because partly the problem is the fact that our human minds operate according to our senses. That is a problem in trying to understand the objective world outside of our own our own sensory world. There is the example of, I don't know exactly what the name is, but this concept that you can't ever do a proper observation of something, because by observing that object you are interfering with it, and so we can't really see the world around us in any objective sense, because by being there we sort of alter the situation. So we don't really know how time works, in how time actually works, or what time actually is, because anytime we are around time, we see it the way we've always seen it. So it's a complicated issue, and it's one of those really really brainy issues. Probably in the future, when humanity, what sort of came after humanity, whether it is artificial life that we create or it is humanity in the new evolutionary stage, they'll probably think of time differently than we do. They probably live with time in a very different way. This wasn't a funny answer, but it's an honest answer, and I think that's good enough. I think it might be better than funny answer. I should make all of these videos entirely philosophical, and I should smoke a pipe while answering these questions. Really, that would be excellent, and you could probably hear the smoke in the air. It would create a very special mood. I could call it philosophy time with Fred. What are your favorite words in Swedish? Mine are Malm and Fred, which is Fred and Malm, but in Swedish pronunciation. It actually is quite interesting because both Fred, and Malm are Swedish words. Fred means peace, as in, the opposite of war. And it is related to the English word free, also friend, I believe. Free in Swedish is fri, and friend can be translated to frände. So, I mean, Swedish, you see, everything is connected in some way, especially Swedish and English, which are on the same branch of Indo-European languages, along with Danish, Norwegian, Dutch, German, Frisian, Faroese, Icelandic, and so on. I'm a bit of a nerd when it comes to languages. Anyway, I think my favorite Swedish word might be... I don't want to... I'm not sure if I should go with a swear word or not, but I'm quite tempted to go with a swear word, because one of my favorite swear words really of all is the Swedish word for hell, which is helvete. So it's like hell, only with an added bit at the end. But it's a very fun word to use, because helvete, it has a nice rhythm to it, and I think that when you're swearing, you need a good rhythm, and that's sort of what makes a swear word good, and that is why we like to combine different swear words. And helvete is good for that, because it's quite satisfying somehow to say helvete, helvete, and it's even better if you have sort of a North Swedish accent. Is there any requirements to be a part of your pagan cult? And who is your deity? I don't know, I haven't decided on deity yet. I think that we're going to be quite an eclectic cult, and we're going to promote individualism, which means that our members can choose whatever god they want to, which is a bit of a different way of doing things, I understand, but I think it would be quite satisfying, and you could also, you could sort of come to, it would make group situations much more satisfying if everyone has their own god, and they can explain what they did to satisfy that god that night. If it's a sexual god, it will be very steamy. It's not going to be a cult for minors, because they always bring their pickaxes with them. Haha. But that does not mean that someone can still appreciate a mining god. if they want to. I mean, it's open. We are very liberal, and we are very progressive and sophisticated cult. I personally might go with some sort of obscure Nordic god just for the sake of it, and I'm going to complain when people don't know who it is. Yeah, I'm probably going to complain that people don't take the cult seriously enough. Because I do think that there's going to be a lot of people who say that, my deity is Zeus, or Thor, or Odin. And I'm going to say, couldn't you have done a bit more research? Couldn't you have picked something more individual? But, that's just petty stuff, People get to choose whatever they want to. And we're going to have, I think, wonderful times. We're going to have a newsletter, and the newsletter is going to have some funny comics in it. I'm not going to be in charge of that. I think we're going to hire some other people, because we want to encourage the local talent, and we're going to write exciting articles. And I think that we're going to have a very, very lovely time. And I think that at the moment, I don't have enough time to actually set any of these ideas in motion. But within 10 years, I think, I want to have the first meeting within 10 years. And it's going to be good, and we'll see more about it in the future. And that is it for tonight. I have been Fred, and with me by my side is my dog named Boris. Say hello to the people, Boris. Ruff, ruff, ruff. Good dog.